Good morning, Brownsville. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on when you're watching this feed. If this is your first time here, welcome. My name is Frankie Olivo. Our program focuses on the very important issues that are affecting our local community. We have shed light on injustices, and we have allowed for our platform, this mic, to be that of the voice of the people. Now, if this is something that you can see yourself supporting, we ask that you like, comment, and share this live feed. Now, as of right now, currently, our program is being streamed on all of our social media platforms. We could be found under Facebook, under Frankie Olivo on our main page. And be sure to follow us on our personal page. We could be found under Olivo Frankie. We're also on X, formerly known as Twitter, under Frankie Olivo. But more importantly, if you haven't already, create a Gmail account, go to YouTube, like, follow, and subscribe to our channel titled Frankie Olivo TV. Remember, it's free. Remember, I will never, ever ask you for money. I will never ask you for food. All I ask of my community is something very simple. Go and subscribe and follow to our social media platforms. I did mention yesterday, right now we're roughly at 828 subscribers on YouTube. The goal is to get to 1,000 by the end of this year. I have 3 stories, 2 juicy ones and one, I guess it's juicy as well. One involving sex on campus between administrators, another one involving a politician harassing a certain individual. And yes, before you ask, I have receipts. Also of grade changing at a local high school. Do you want me to talk about this? You may not realize this, but everything that I post and everything that I talk about has its consequences. While I am okay with whatever happens, I do realize that I run a risk. Is something bound to happen to me? I don't know. I hope not. But if it comes, we'll be ready. Again, I don't ask much of my community. Do you want me to continue to be out there? Do you want me to continue to talk about these issues that all the different government entities are trying to hide from you? I don't mind having a bullseye on my back. I actually like it. But to be fair, I'll continue to risk my neck out. But all I want you to do is to help me reach 1,000 subscribers. If I get 1,000 subscribers before December 31st, I will talk about these bangers. One involving sex on campus, on BISD time, on BISD property, 2 administrators, politician harassing, and then grade changing. Oh, it's very possible. So, and look, if I don't get to 1,000 subscribers, that's fine. I'll just put these stories away in the vault and let them sit there. Unless they do something else again, then I would be forced to talk about it. But for the most part, I won't. So that's that's the pickle that I'm in, ladies and gentlemen. I'm challenging my community. Hey, help me get 172 subscribers in 2 months. That's all I ask of my community. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be talking about early voting. Yesterday was the first day of early voting, and it was a low voter turnout on day Juan of early voting. We want to focus on the reasons why maybe people aren't motivated. Non-presidential election. Here locally, we're not electing any candidates. Well, depends where you live. South Padre does have municipal elections. Hidalgo County, Edinburgh does have municipal elections. They're very important propositions that are on the ballot for us to vote on. So today we'll be talking about the low voter turnout, and also in particular to what a board member has stated in regards to if this bond doesn't pass. Good morning, Roman. Happy Tuesday.
Good morning, Frankie. How are you doing this glorious, wonderful day of Tuesday, October 21st?
I'm doing a lot better now that you showed up.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was trying to deal with a noise problem next door. And hopefully, if nobody picks up the music that they're playing next door, and hopefully they'll shut their music down. Because I mean, I'm working here, guys. I want to make sure I give you all good product on for Frankie, because then Frankie's not gonna want me on anymore. And then who are you gonna deal with? Captain Bob? I love you, Captain Bob. I'm going to see you later on this afternoon. That's the plan. That's the plan.
For the views, I think I'm gonna ask Captain Bob to come out shirtless again. Maybe we could
Oh.
get a lot more eyeballs on it.
Hey, we're getting
uh,
good eyeballs right now. I got to tell you right now, people are watching us. I mean, I had a friend of mine call me last night. There were some politicians not very happy with Roman. And I said, I'm just saying how it is. I'm sorry if that candidate's not happy that I don't think that person can win. It's just my opinion. Prove me wrong. You know, it's like, that little sign. I'm out in the middle of some lawn and I'm just like, prove me wrong. That's it. Work hard if you think you can win. I don't think you can win, but whatever.
Roman, I never I think you had mentioned it to me, or you had thrown it out there. I
Mm.
never realized the significance, the impact that we're making. And I say that with all humility because people do watch. And when you really talk about it, look, I posted that our page, has been viewed over 3 million times this past 28 days, and
Goodness.
somebody said, oh well, you're nothing compared to like the Brownsville Onlines, the Brownsville Todays, that they're averaging eight figures, 10 million
Love
views,
to
20
hear that.
million views.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, well, again, we focus on politics, and there isn't really like a politics podcast that covers current events, that covers elections, propositions, bond elections in detail, the way we cover it. And I think people appreciate that because it's funny, Roman, the stuff that we would post on our platform, they would say, well, I don't see it on the news. Why isn't it on the news? I'm like, we are the news. What are you talking about? Um, but I think that's the beauty of this program, that that we do give people an insight, an in-depth look into the possibilities of this candidate running against X candidate, and the possibility of this proposition. And today we're going to talk about what a board member said, if this bond doesn't pass, little things like that, Roman. I think people appreciate because we really do give
Lord.
you an insight into what's happening in the everyday life of city of Brownsville.
I mean, I think it's important that people, where else are you going to get, discussion about voter turnout and why this is interesting and whether or not it's the same as last go around or what. You're not going to get anywhere else other than, here. And yeah, it might be a little nerdy, but I think it's important because we want to make sure, at least I do, I want to make sure that people feel confident when they go vote that their vote's going to matter. And right now, if you go out and vote and you go out and vote no, and you tell your friends and stuff, it's going to matter. Just go vote, because I got a call yesterday after the show. I started texting people, reminding them, go vote. I gave them, like, I think I even sent it to you. What the hell is wrong with my hair today? Like, seriously, it's annoying me. Dude, it's my OCD is going like freaking crazy right now. It's anyway. So I was texting people the information, and they were calling me back, and I got this call from, I'm not gonna say who. They voted at the library. That's, hey Roman, I just voted and I voted the way you wanted me to vote, and I'm like, great. And I was like, there's nobody voting at the library, and I'm like, oh really? Why? I was the second person to vote, curbside, and I'm like, great, that's awesome. And like, what time was it? Like 11. What the? Wow. So I mean, there's very little lower turnout that's happening. Last night, uh, and so and the person's voting no, and it's like everybody that they know is voting no, and that's good, but that's not enough. I want more. I want more people to vote no. I want more people to go out there and say this is a bad thing and vote no. So I don't know what numbers you got, what you're going to put up. I know that the county um didn't. have the breakdown by entity. They just had the entirety of the county. So I don't know how you want to work with that. We'll talk about that for a few minutes, and then we'll talk about what you're saying about this elected official. And then apparently one of the blogs actually did some journalism yesterday and posted that one of these board members that's against the bond hasn't paid their taxes, allegedly, according to this blogger, and even quoted the county tax assessor collector, who happens to be a former BISD board member. It almost seems like they're talking about it because they're not happy with this individual being against the bond. But hey, I don't know if you want to talk about that either. There's so much to talk about. It's never a dull day in the city of Brownsville, or in the Cameron County, or in the Rio Grande Valley, or in Texas, or in the country, because we talk about everything we can. Mhm.
Yeah, again, it's crazy how on top of these things
It's like
people are like Juan. We could talk about that, I guess. To me, it was fairly shocking in regards to the sum, because again, do people owe taxes? Yes, and
oh,
and
what
and,
the
and it's
hell?
and it's evident. It's evident that that people are struggling. We don't live in a time where jobs are promising and giving thousands of dollars to families. Many people live on a fixed income, and they can't really afford the lifestyle, so to speak. So it was interesting to find that Juan Montoya from El Run Run did post yesterday that BISD trustee Minerva Peña was delinquent since 2023 in the sum of a little over $70,000. So it's impressive, and people commenting, people alluding to the fact that this is the reason why. This is the reason why people need to go out for bonds, because of people like her that aren't keeping up to date with their note. But it's tough, Roman. Look, I see it from all angles, because if first and foremost, as an elected official, you need to pay your dues. You need to make sure um, that you don't have nothing pending, especially something like taxes, Roman, because that it looks bad. You being a board member, your fellow constituents are um, having to deal with the constraints of life, the rigors of life, and then you have here someone such as a board member that is not keeping up. After how many years, Roman? Is it 2 or 3 that the tax office starts sending them to court? I think it's after 2 or 3 years. It's
Well, what do you mean? Like court?
delinquency.
Oh, delinquency happens within 6 months. I mean, if you don't pay,
Oh,
if you,
really?
yeah, yeah, no, if you don't pay your taxes, it's like it's due January 31st. Like these taxes you get in the mail right now, you can pay them early. Your mortgage is going to pay them on October because they want to get that 3%, uh, discount. So you pay them in October, but they're due January 31st of 2026, and that's why it's called the tax year. If I'm not mistaken, to tax. I know it's definitely fiscal year. Anyway, you pay it then. If you don't pay it by July 1st of that year, it's considered really delinquent, and they send it to the delinquency attorney, and they then start dealing with it within 6 months. Um, and then taking them to court, it's up to you whenever they want to take it to court. But this story to me is interesting because they're bringing it out on Monday, the day of early vote, and she, along with Carlos, again, broken clock, right, twice a day. They're on our side on this issue. It doesn't mean that we're always going to be on the same side on every single issue. Like I'm not on their side when it comes to the insurance. I think what they did with the insurance and playing around with that was wrong. And I disagree with them. But, we're allowed to disagree. We're allowed to disagree with, politicians. But the fact that it came out today really is fascinating. Like they've been sitting on this. You don't think that Eddie Garcia knew about this? I mean, remember, Minerva Peña was the one who pushed to get Eddie on the board. They got on the board because I guess they were both on the force together or whatever, and they weren't, but whatever. There, one of them was a DPS trooper, lawyer, nighttime lawyer, court, I don't know, um, you know, cop by day, lawyer by night. Minerva Peña, and the other one was the PIO, the Public Information Officer for the City of Brownsville's Police Department, and then that's why he got on the court on the BISD board, and then he got on the board on his own right by running for office, and they were on opposing sides on the board. They were not on the same side. They have had issues. One of the issues they had was Minerva Peña calling filing some sort of, I guess, incident report because she felt threatened by in I believe in some sort of session um by Eddie Trevino. I mean, Eddie Garcia. Eddie Garcia was on Zoom in, I think he was in Seattle, if I'm not mistaken. This was a few years ago. So my memory might not be 100% accurate, but yeah. So he was on Zoom, and she was in Brownsville, and he was saying some things, I guess, trying to correct the record and say, hey, this, maybe we should do this, Miss Pena, whatever. And she took it as a threat. You're threatening me all the way from Seattle. And so I believe she called the cops on him. And so they don't have like the greatest history in the world. So I don't think for a second that Eddie Garcia didn't know that this was happening, and it just miraculously showed up on Juan Montoya's blog. Because Juan Montoya has never been on the side of Eddie Garcia, right? Eddie Garcia has never done anything and given information to Juan so it can show up on the blog. Not that never happened before, ever. And it just came out, whatever. Now, do I think that she should pay her taxes? 100%. If you're an elected official, you should pay your taxes. You should not be delinquent in your taxes. That might even be grounds for removal from being in office if you're not paying your taxes. I don't know the law. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not Minerva Peña, lawyer by night, law enforcement officer by day. That's not me. I'm not a very good driver. I'm not an excellent driver. I'm not an excellent, I don't hear very well. It is what it is. So if Minerva, I don't know, maybe she could be removed from office. That's why this matters. But at the same time, I think this might actually be an argument for why this bond is a bad idea. If an elected official cannot afford to pay her taxes with all the property that she owns, how do you think the citizens of Brownsville, citizens of BISD, are going to be able to pay their taxes when this bond goes up and it doubles in price? When you have the tax rate go up 7 times within 5 years, and on top of that, your actual monetary taxes will double. How do you think they're going to be able to pay for taxes? And that's just the BISD. What about all the other entities? So, this might actually be an argument for why we shouldn't raise taxes, because people like Minerva Peña, who are, I guess, is she over 65 at this point? I think she is over 65. Probably gets her taxes frozen. It is what it is. But I think this is an interesting story, that the way it came out, the background. But if she does owe taxes, she needs to pay them. Now, it's possible she's on a payment plan, right? I think that was what some people have been arguing or alluding to. But the story says that there is no such payment plan. I mean, maybe we can read the whole story completely if that's what you want to do, Frankie.
Sure. The story does allude to her owing on several properties for these past 2 years.
Again, allegedly, this is where we're sourcing Juan Montoya, and he sources.
No, well,
he actually quotes.
He has the tax summary, so
yeah,
it is what it is. It's titled "Tax Dodger BISD Trustee Minerva Peña Delinquent Since 23." BISD Trustee Minerva Peña, one of 2 vocal opponents on the board against the passage of the bond in this election, owes more than $73,000 in delinquent and current taxes, according to public records. A search of records of the Cameron County Appraisal District and the Cameron County Tax Assessor and Collector's Office under the names Guadalupe and Minerva Peña show that at least 5 accounts, including the couple's homestead, have been delinquent for 23 and 24, and that this past 25 taxes are also remain unpaid. Some of the properties that are listed under Guadalupe and Peña Record Service. The amounts include penalties, attorney's fees, and special interest charges on the property. This year's tax statements have been mailed to county residents, and the current 25 tax bill for the couple is included in the $73,000 figure. Peña, who never tires of reciting to anyone within earshot that she was a member of Porter High School Bells, her former employment as a Texas DPS trooper, her late father's military service, and pious evangelical platitudes about her religious beliefs has repeatedly claimed she is there to defend the interests of the little people in the district. But if she was really concerned about the poor taxpayers of the district, she wouldn't pass the burden of taxation to other district residents while shirking off her own responsibilities to pay her own taxes. Maybe if she paid her taxes, BISD wouldn't have to go out for a bond, wrote a commenter to this blog. El Run Run has learned that Peña has been trying to negotiate with the tax office and the delinquent tax attorneys for the city of Brownsville, Linebarger, Blair, Sampson, to reach a payment agreement. But as of late Friday, no agreement has been confirmed. When reached for comment, tax assessor collector Eddie Garcia said his office is always open for taxpayers to make payment arrangements, but that's up to now. The Peñas have not inked one with the county. Our office is always open for everyone, no matter who they are all treated the same, Garcia said. We treat everyone the same. There is no special treatment for anyone. As far as court records show, as of late Friday, there has been no tax delinquent case filed against the couple by Lombauger or the BISD tax delinquent company, Purdue. The tax entities which the Peñas have stiffed for the last 2 years include BISD, South Texas ISD, City of Brownsville, Brownsville Navigation District, Cameron County Drainage District number 1, and the Texas Southmost College.
Yeah. I mean, there's no payment plan so far, and that's as of Friday. No. What's wrong with you, Berto? Be nice. Don't say that about Frankie. No, mean. People are mean to you, Frankie. They don't like you. You're right. When you told me last time that people don't like you, it's true.
No, he's saying 65. That if Minerva Peña turns 65, we could help her. It's an inside joke. Never mind.
Anyway, I'm just being funny. No, hey, no, no. I think this is an important story. I'm congratulations, Juan, for breaking the story, and you knew about it Friday, but it just comes out Monday morning. Why didn't it come out Friday when you had it? I don't know. Just interesting that it just hits this day because people are going to be looking at the blog that voting's happening because they want to see what kind of. Is this some sort of October surprise? You would expect in a presidential election or something, but no. Even for a BISD bond election, yep. October surprise. This is what I guess this is their ace in the hole. We're going to talk about Minerva Peña, and when we really should be talking about the bond itself. And hopefully this, will be taken care of. Hopefully the Peñas will pay their taxes because they should pay their taxes. But that's a lot of money. What was it? $73,000 you said in back tax? That's a lot of money. A lot. And it's 3 years worth of taxes. 2023, 2024, and last year's taxes. Because the taxes that are due, that you got in the mail in October is due in January, but you're getting the bill already. Like you can pay for it now and get 3% discount. And so there you go, guys. That's your story.
It's again, it's politics. As an elected official, you should always be weary of these type of things. She knows she's gonna get criticized for it. That is one of the ways the school district has funds in large part because of property taxes. I think it's hypocritical for a elected official for them to go years without not fulfilling their responsibilities as property owners, and then not saying anything whenever the random Joe and the regular Juan and Maria, they're sued, they're taken to court, they're forced. Are you going to sell? Or are we going to recoup your property? It's very hypocritical in my opinion. She should be more vocal. Maybe she's talking with the tax attorneys and say, "Hey, give these people a break. We're all suffering. We can't make it." A $73,000 bill is weighs heavy. People are struggling. With the $1,600 bill that they received, get a loan $73,000. No matter when you get into a payment plan, when are you going to finish paying that off? Never. And then next year, what's going to happen? You're going to get billed again. So it's a hole, Roman. It's a hole that it's difficult to get out of.
Hmm.
Maybe is this a need where she's gonna have to sell, downsize? Maybe, but I don't read too much into that. Oh, this was a hit job. On early voting. Like, well, she's a politician. She's an elected official. She should know better. And again, Minerva Peña is a polished politician. She has been on for what, going on 20 years now.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it's not like if someone that is naive and doesn't realize the consequences or the perception, bad perception, in my opinion, that it leaves on voters, because hey, here we are struggling, having to come up with this tax bill, being threatened by the possibility of being taken to court, of being sued. And then you have a politician that hasn't even been in our shoes. That's very telling. And I think that's the best time to release a story like that. You know,
Hmm.
um, can one make the argument that this story is causing people not to vote? It's hard to say. But I don't know. It was telling to hear this news during early voting, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
I mean, pay your taxes. That's all we can ask to do. And I know I'm not saying that this story shouldn't have come out. I'm not saying that at all. I think that it's important that the story did come out. And I'm glad somebody did.
Mhm.
I just think it's just a coincidence. Comes out the day of early vote, and but pay your taxes. I don't think it's going to keep anybody from voting no one way or the other. I agree. Um, but if I mean, these are like what going on 3 years. Is she going to be able to pay next year's taxes? I don't know. Again, and this is a total taxes between, I guess, her and her husband or something, and it is what it is. Um, we can move on and talk about the numbers if you want. Nobody seems to
Yeah.
be interested in commenting.
Yes. Yesterday numbers were released. 3,000 residents of Cameron County did cast their ballot on early voting.
3,000?
Yesterday,
No, it wasn't
over
3,000. It was only 851
Roman
people.
for Cameron County.
Yeah, that's what
Over
it was for Cameron County. I saw the numbers last night on the elections department. Am I wrong?
Well, it has here 3,000 on Monday.
I don't know where they got the 3,000. I mean, they're telling me there's 2,000 mail-in ballots or something, because in person, I looked at the county website, and the county website had only 851 people that voted countywide.
County or in Brownsville?
Countywide.
Then where are they getting 3,000?
I don't know. That's my question.
Hidalgo County, I guess.
No, I mean, I don't know
Let's
what the
look at Hidalgo County
what's the headline. Let me read the headline.
results.
Yeah. Yeah, it might be at Valley Wide, but it's only 800. I want to say it's 851 or 855, something like that. I don't remember the exact number. I know when I looked at it, it only had countywide on the elections website.
Nonetheless, it was a slow day. I tried going to South Padre, the community center, but me thinking that it was gonna be open until 7, and I got there a tad late. They closed at 6.
Oh wow.
Um, the public library, the place where Los Fresnos is giving it a run for its money. Uh, Overall, I just think people are, maybe people are gonna wait till Saturday. I decided that I'm gonna wait till Saturday. That way, I have enough time to go out and vote. But it was just very telling that not a lot of people came out to vote in Cameron County.
Well, because they haven't done the breakdown, I decided to look in November 2023, and because that was when we had the vatry, as opposed to having a actual election with people on the ballot. I think that was more consistent as opposed to picking presidential election year. So if you want to look at county, and we also had constitutional amendment election November of 2023. In this election cycle total, you had what I think is, I can't read the numbers, 855 or 851 people. If that's what it was. Not 100% sure if that was what number it was. But in 2023, there was 806 people that voted countywide on the day of the election. So there means to be a little bit of an uptick in terms of how many people have voted. So I'm wondering, like, is that a BISD? And because I think they have reported that by 10 o'clock. So I guess in the next 10 minutes or so, we should have the breakdown. Right now, obviously, we don't have it in front of us. So I'm looking at the Brownsville Public Library. They had about 191 people. I can't really read it; it's kind of a little small. But in 2023, they had only about 150 people um, at voting at BISD, if I'm not mistaken, that
Well,
day, and 2 years ago. But they had 179 total people voting on the day of the election or so. That was countywide that voted in Brownsville. So I'm thinking that maybe the increase in countywide voting is because of Brownsville ISD election, but it's not very significant. The first day of early vote in Brownsville 2 years ago was about for BISD was about 340, 330 in that range. I don't remember the exact number because I looked at it last night at like 1 o'clock in the morning or something, right? And so that's what it was. So I'm assuming that when the numbers come out for BISD, you're looking at a little bit of an increase. So that means that people are interested. It's more than it was in it 2 years ago, but that does concern me because 2 years ago we had the VATRI where you had BISD misleading voters and telling voters that what they were voting for was not a tax increase. Um, it's not a tax increase. It's not a tax. It was a tax increase. If I'm not mistaken, on the ballot, it said it was going to be a tax increase, and they still voted in favor of it. So that does concern me. That it's on par with a turnout from 2 years ago. So that means to me that you need to go out and vote, and you need to make sure that people go out to vote. Your friends and family go out to vote and vote against this bond. Because if you don't go out and vote against this bond, you don't encourage people to vote against this bond, it's going to pass just like that tax increase that happened 2 years ago in terms of the VATRI, which is the voter approved tax ratification election, which was in place because it was a tax increase.
the I guess the numbers look good compared to 2 years ago. This is from yesterday. 849 people in Cameron County came out to vote,
Right.
compared to 23, 331 people throughout the county on day
No,
one
no, no.
came out to vote.
But Frankie, that's BISD election total. Like if you look at the very top, it says BISD election. That's not countywide because they broke it down. We don't have the breakdown yet. We have to wait till 10 o'clock to get the breakdown of how many people voted. So that's countywide yesterday, and that's what you're looking at is BISD only.
Well, we're focusing on Brownsville.
Right, but
Brownsville, what matters for this election.
I agree, but I'm saying that if you look at what they had 2 years ago, if you compare county to county, so you can figure out what it was approximately 806, 809 in that range. What it was countywide, and this had how many people voted. It was on election first day of early vote for BISD 2 years ago. So if you only have countywide, you can have like a relationship and say, okay, there was a little bit more people that voted countywide, so you're going to assume that there's a little bit more people than 331 people voting in BISD yesterday. Again, without looking at the numbers, we're just guessing at this point. It's just relationships.
I still see more people coming out to vote.
Yes.
Compared to 2 years ago.
Yeah, but not. I don't. It's not going to be a significant increase. We're not looking at like 100 more people coming out and voting BISD. We're looking at maybe 10 or 20 more people coming out to vote in BISD. And it could also be Los Fresnos because Los Fresnos has a city election that's very highly contested. And it could also be that there's a highly contested election over in Harlingen with two districts. But and 2 years ago there was not a mayor's race, even though there is not a mayor's race in Harlingen because nobody ran against the incumbent mayor. Yeah.
We'll see. Hopefully it kicks up, but again, I don't think that's going to be the case. It's going to be difficult for people to get motivated. So maybe this bond does have a possibility of passing unless you have all of the people or the majority of the people that have gone to go vote early that are against this bond. But again, I guess it's tough to say so early.
It is. It's early, but if you're looking at a slight increase, like 10 more people coming out to vote at BISD, that means that nobody's really interested. We're still on par. Typically, the people that are voting the first day of early vote are the most enthusiastic one way or the other. And usually people are creatures of habit. If they voted 2 years early, first day, more than likely, they're going to be some of the same people voting early first day. And hopefully the people will have been listening to us and not listening to the fake propaganda. from BISD. I mean, I posted yesterday a story from KRGV when they were reporting on the bond, and in it they claimed that the superintendent was saying that the current tax rate for the interest and sinking fund was 24 cents, and I'm like, no, it wasn't. It's not. It's 4 cents, and you can, that's what it is. And we knew it was going to be about 4 cents at that time when he said it in August. The budget had already been passed. They kind of have an idea what the tax rate is going to be at that point. But if people go out and read that story now, and they say, "Oh, the tax rate is 24 cents," well, it's not. It's actually 4 cents, and they approved that tax rate. If I'm not mistaken, in September, I think that's when they approved the tax rate. And so it's kind of like misinformation. I'm not going to call it a lie because it's misinforming. I didn't find another story on the updated tax rate after, the bond was, put on the ballot with the new tax rate of 4 cents. So if somebody's doing, um, wait, Jimmy, what? Gonna do whatever Deborah Belt. She ain't telling you to vote one way or the other on this one. Jimmy, she's not up there telling you to vote one way or the other. She doesn't encourage anybody to vote. So I guess she's telling people not to go vote, by her indifference to it. So yeah. Vote.
The I came across something, and it kind of got caught my attention.
All right.
Again, we have seen how this 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 board majority has been focused on pushing this bond. And something happened. There was a post yesterday by one of the board members that I would like to cover.
All right.
And it caught my attention because of what another platform highlighted. I really didn't wasn't paying attention. I really wasn't following it until I was, I guess, forced to look into it by someone. They said, "Hey, did you see this? Did you notice this?" I said, "No, I have no clue."
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting to learn that, again, there's no question that what we're facing here at BISD is very serious. It's not something that we find joy in talking about. There is this realization and this reality, and I think people, little by little, are finally starting to realize that this idea of a potential of school closures, of people losing their jobs, of is very real. Um, that is not something that we say lightly. One thing that we've heard is, you're fear mongering. You're causing people to be stressed out. Can you please don't be so negative? I've said it before and I'll continue to say it. I want you to come here and be told the truth. I don't want this platform, this program, to be more of like a kumbaya of everything's okay. Everything's peachy clean. No, we pride ourselves in giving you the good and the bad. And I think people appreciate that. I honestly do, because we as taxpayers, as adults, as citizens, we want to be told the way it is. We want for you to figure out how you feel on certain stances in regards to the bond, in regards to political ideology, whatever we're talking about. Um, and whenever we say that things are happening, we say it with good intentions. Whenever we posted, 11 schools are going to close, we got criticized. What are you doing? What do you mean 20% of campus are going to be closing? You're lying. You're causing fear in people. You're negative. I do it with the realization that this is what's coming. Whether this bond passes or not, hypothetically, schools are going to be closed.
Mm-hmm.
We think that by throwing money at something, we're going to fix the problem. Not necessarily. We might fix it superficially,
Mm-hmm.
but we're not going to get to the crux of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
BISD has an image problem. according to their own data, they're going to lose a significant amount of students from here till the next 3, 4, 5 years. That's not me saying it, that's them. So what's the only logical thing to do? To downsize, something that board member Minerva Peña needs to consider. Downsizing is whenever you can't stay afloat. Staying afloat is a thing of the past. Now it's we need to cut, we need to downsize, we need to save money. Yesterday there was a board member that posted the following: if this bond does not pass, BISD may be forced to take more aggressive measures, downsizing, cutting stipends, and paying increases, and reducing student programs and opportunity due to the lack of funds. What she doesn't tell the people is that this is going to happen whether this bond passes or not.
Mm-hmm.
This essentially, Roman, this essentially is misinformation.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Is there any truth to what she's saying? Yes, 1000%. I'm not denying that. I'm not saying that Ms. Denise Garza is wrong on her statement that she made on social media. She's right. What she's leaving out, what the important thing is, that this is going to happen whether this bond passes or not. At the end of the day, whenever you put lipstick on a pig, that pig is still going to be a pig, just with lipstick.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with BISD. Let's say hypothetically that this bond does pass miraculously. Are they going to fix the schools? Are they going to fix the HVAC? Are they going to? Yes. But they're still going to lose students. Students are going to say, oh, wow, that's a brand new AC unit that you just installed. I'm going to go back to school. They don't care. Parents are sick and tired of this notion of corruption. We just had Denise Garza and Carlos Elizondo accuse people on that board, accuse possible administrators of BISD of receiving money under the table, according to Carlos Elizondo's audio that he claims to have. You think parents want to hear about these things? They're sick and tired of this. Why do you think they're giving opportunities to the likes of IDEA, Jubilee, other charter schools? Now with school choice, heck, they might even send them to St. Joe or a private or another private school. What this is causing, Roman, is fear. This is what they're doing. They're causing fear in people instead of calming their fears and saying, look, we need to be real with you. We need to address the nitty gritty. This is going to happen. Teachers are going to lose their jobs. Schools are going to have to close. After school programs, we might not have that anymore. That's what I want our elected officials to be sincere with the people. At the end of the day, we need to start working on getting over this hump. And that hump, Roman, isn't by putting the taxpayers at a financial burden. That to me is not the problem.
Yep. I know. I agree with you. I don't like the scare tactic. They're scaring you. They're kind of pleading on emotion. They're not no longer dealing in facts. They're dealing with emotion. And I disagree with Denise on this because we all know it's going to close. We know schools are going to close regardless. We know that. The superintendent said as much. We know that schools are going to close just because they're only funding or looking at 39 schools, right? I think that's the number of schools that they're looking at, and there are 51 campuses. And that means there are other schools they're already looking at. And, there's no guarantee. I mean, there's no guarantee by the board in any sort of resolution saying that these schools that are getting our funds is going to happen. I can ask that question and I can be assured by one board member, but that's not a majority of the board. That's not the superintendent assuring us that every single one of these schools that we're paying money to get are going to get that money and they're not going to close. Again, there's going to be a rolling rollout of these fixes for these schools. Who's to say that in 2 years they figure out, this one school that we were going to get millions of dollars to, we haven't fixed it yet, but you know what? Enrollment's so down, we're going to close it and then use that money for other schools or use it for other things, right? They're going to roll out. There's going to be $100 million one year, $150 million the next, so your tax rate will gradually increase. That's concerning to me. But what programs are going to be cut? Remember, this is about maintenance. This is about fixing brick and mortar stuff, right? This is about building a CTE program. What programs specifically are going to potentially be cut if you're going to claim these things because funds are not there? Because if I'm not mistaken, the programs are funded by other funds from the M&O tax rate. Hold on. I had to sneeze. I apologize. I mean, where is that? This money is about brick and mortar. It's not about programs. It's not about teachers. Why are you saying that they're going to lose money? Why are these funds? If you don't have this money, they're going to lose it. Is it because they are admitting finally that schools are going to have to close? I mean, that's what these are going to close regardless. You're going to have more schools closed if this bond fails. That is the truth. We are not lying to you. We're not misinforming you. But we also believe that $460 million is way too much. The tax burden is too much. And I'm not repeating myself. It's because we want to make sure you understand as voters that no matter what happens with this bond, we're going to have school closures. We're going to have, I guess, using her language, programs, shortchanging stuff, or what was I can't read it. It's not there. You know what I'm talking about. It's going to be a little bit more, but even still, is it worth $460 million principal plus interest, which comes out to nearly $1 billion on a tax burden of BISD taxpayers and renters and business owners? Is it? I don't think it is. I don't think it's worth it. I think this is wrong. This to me is highway robbery. This is a money grab because I know that. And I've said this yesterday. I'll say it every single day if I have to. 6 months ago, in February of this year, they wanted a $300 million bond, less than that, plus a $50 million, $40 or $50 million pack. That totaled approximately $340 to $350 million in bond. But now, fast forward, and that failed. They couldn't get the votes. And then all of a sudden, now we have a $460 million bond combined. That's why nothing changed. Nothing should have changed. And that's why we're asking questions. And that's why we need to vote no. And I agree. And some of the people are talking about an audit. Maybe we really do need a significant audit, even a bigger audit than we thought before, because it makes no sense that you increased the bond from $350 million to $460 million in a matter of months. I don't trust you. I don't trust the superintendent. I don't trust the board members, and I don't trust the administration. And I think a lot of people in the NBIC are the same way.
For context, I guess it's only fair to I should have started off with this. This is the post that she made shortly before early voting this weekend. It states, support the future of BISD. Vote yes for the bond. The upcoming BISD bond is vital to be continued success and progress of our district. Bonds allow school districts to fund essential projects, upgrading campuses, improving safety, and providing better learning environments for our students and staff. This investment comes with only a small increase for some, but the return is enormous. Stronger schools, safer facilities, and a brighter future for our children. It's disheartening to hear some in the community say, no, why would anyone want to see BISD fail? Our students and staff deserve the best. The two board members now opposing this bond were part of the TRE that passed, but did not deliver what was promised to the community. We should be asking why their TRE failed to fulfill its plan.
Can we stop there?
Sure.
Do you mind? So I want to talk about this small tax increase. It's not a small tax increase. This is misinformation. She's not giving you the facts. She's not. She's misleading you. We are telling you the truth. It is a 7 times increase in the tax rate from 4 cents to 28 cents if both bonds pass. And these are not my numbers. This is BISD numbers. This is superintendent's number. In no world is a 7 times increase in a tax rate would you ever call it a small tax increase. A 600% increase in the tax rate, in no way or shape or form is that a small tax increase. In no way, shape, or form is doubling the taxes of individuals from 300, their information a little bit over $300 to a little bit over $700. In no way, in shape, or form, that's not nearly doubling your taxes. Is that ever considered a small tax increase? It's ridiculous that she's using this language, and she is my friend. I will call her out of it. She calls me out on stuff too. It's fine. I don't take it personally. She won't take this personally, but she's wrong, and she's misinforming you. Secondly, when she says the language, it's a for some. That bothers me. For some. Because I thought we were supposed to defend them. First off, I don't accept your premise. I don't accept that it's only going to affect some people, because I thought she's a Democrat. I'm a Republican. I thought Democrats were about the minority. I thought we were supposed to defend the minority. Right now, the Democrats in the U.S. Senate are the minority, and they're closing down, shutting down the government because of their little, hissy fit, because they don't want to clean QR. They are the minority, but, she would probably support them because they're Democrats. But why is it that she's going to argue for some? Is it because the some are the rich people? Screw the rich? Is that what she's saying? Is that what all the board members believe that are in favor of this bond? Is that what Blackie Locks, Frank Ortiz, does he believe this? Does the Golden Girl believe this? Does Jessica believe this? Does Daniela believe this? Sorry that I'm naming names, but it's the truth. This is ridiculous. This is wrong. And no way, shape, or form is it for some. I dare say it's for a majority of the people. Majority of the people in this city, in this BISD, are going to be affected by this supposed small tax increase that I call a significantly large tax increase. It's not going to be for some. It's going to be for everybody. Because at some level, everybody's affected some way or another. But if you want to talk a specific tax increase, it's not for some. It's for majority of the property taxpayers in this BISD. And so I want to go into that. Hopefully y'all will agree with me that I'm right and she's wrong, and call her out on it. People call us out on our supposed BS. They go out and trash us and defame us and say that we're, spreading misinformation. Don't believe us. Don't believe Frankie. Don't believe Roman. They don't know what you're talking about. I know what I'm talking about. And anybody that says Roman doesn't know what you're talking, I know what I'm talking about. I don't talk smack for fun. I try to give you all facts. And so I think Frankie does as well. The other thing I want you to stop on is we should be asking why their TRE failed to fulfill its plan. I don't think that's the flex you think it is. Because, yeah, I'm still asking. I'm still wondering what happened at TRE for that Minerva and Carlos supported. I'm still there. I'm with you on that. But isn't that also an argument as to why people don't trust BISD as well on this new one? I mean, if we didn't get what we wanted because of those two and they're against this, I mean, if they're against it, maybe there is something really wrong about it. If they're against it, they're the ones that pushed the TRE several years ago. People don't trust BISD. And, Denise will not be there after next year because she's not running for re-election. So we're not going to be able to hold her accountable at BISD. She's currently running for county clerk. She might win the nomination. And if she wins the nomination, she might win in November of next year, that position. We the BISD voters will never be able to hold her accountable whether or not this TRE, if the bond were to pass, whether the bond comes to fruition and all the things that she is promising along with the other board members and the superintendent. There's also no guarantee that the superintendent will be here longer than a year or two. He's already retired. He can leave whenever he wants to. So who are we going to be able to hold accountable? I mean, if you want to blame Minerva Penny, who's been there forever and a day, and Carlos coming back, yeah, we're lucky we can still hold them accountable, sort of. But I don't think that's a flex you think it is. Sorry, I interrupted. I hopefully you agree. You don't mind me interrupting you on that.
Well, what if she loses? What if she loses the primary? She could just announce for re-election in the summer.
I think she's made it clear she's not running again.
Oh, she already stated publicly?
Not publicly. I mean, I've heard from rumors that even if she loses in the primary, she won't run again. I mean, I think it's similar to what Eddie Garcia said. Eddie Garcia was telling people, even if I lose to Tony Ziguira, I'm not running regardless, even if I lose. I'm not running for re-election. And that was last year, I think it was.
Because I honestly think that race, Denise Garza and Sylvia Garza Perez, is going to be a very, very good race. And anyone that knows, Sylvia Garza Perez, say what you want about her. She eats, sleeps, and breathes politics. But that's what I think of her. I see her everywhere. Everyone knows her. Is it time for a change? I guess we'll let the county voters decide.
Well,
Continuing,
that'll be the
go.
primary voters, and that
Right.
primary. And if she wins the primary, then it will be the county voters in November.
In contrast, this current board successfully passed a V-tray, and every dollar went directly towards pay increases as promised. That's accountability and follow through our community can trust.
Okay, hold on. And in that VAT tree, you, Denise, Daniela, and Jessica, everybody that voted for that VAT tree and pushed that VAT tree 2 years ago, misled the public and told everybody it was not a tax increase when it was. And I think that matters. And also with the VAT tree, it was explicit. You had no choice. And I believe it had to do. You know what? I'm not going to speak out of turn because I really don't know exactly what it was, because I was very much against it. I thought that was ridiculous to increase taxes. But I'm not mistaken. The VAT tree to increase taxes is just increasing the tax rate to fill the budget. I could be wrong. Maybe somebody can correct me, but I believe that's what that was. I mean, it's just essentially, this is the tax rate and this is what the budget is. What we're going to use the budget for. I mean, it's not a big deal that they passed the VAT tree and they fulfilled the budget. That's what I'm trying to say.
If this bond, while BISD's enrollment may not be growing, our success continues to grow. Our students are achieving more. Our educators are working harder than ever, and our district continues to make meaningful progress. If this bond does not pass, BISD may be forced to take more aggressive measures, downsizing, cutting stipends and pay increases, and reducing student programs and opportunities due to the lack of funds. Early voting begins Monday, October 20th through the 31st. I urge everyone to support our bond and stand with us in building a stronger, more sustainable future for BISD. This has been the most transparent bond process our district has ever seen, and it was proposed by our citizens, not by us. Yet some still want to see us stop. Let's move forward together. Our kids and our staff are counting on it.
Keep that up, Frankie, if you don't mind, so I can be able to, talk about the last few Senate paragraphs that she wrote. One, was the bond proposed by the citizens? The dollar amount? No. You know how I know that wasn't the dollar amount that was proposed by the bond people? Because you had a different bond number in February versus August. You didn't have a new citizens committee that came out between February and August to tell you, hey, this is a new bond. That's not true. And to say this is the most transparent bond ever, well, when you have misinformation, you have charts that you're sending to citizens and charts that you're having out there, providing them so much information that it's wrong, that you have to parse, that you have to squint in order to believe what you're saying. And you have to be blind to believe what you're saying. When you said right now in your own statement that it was a small tax increase when it wasn't. It's not. It's a significant increase. That's just not true. That's not fair. And to say, and then the sentence, she says, cutting stipends and pay increases. Isn't that why we're in the problems we are right now? Because you're increasing the salary of people when you shouldn't, and it's cutting into the fund balance. I mean, they had a whole disagreement on the fund balance during the interest insurance because the Golden Girl finally figured out that there was such a thing as a fund balance, and that you had to dip into it. And they went into the fund balance, and it's below the $100 million you're supposed to have because you were giving increases to people you shouldn't have been giving increases to. And it's not like I'm a heartless individual, but you had money coming in from the state. You had money coming in for the state for these pay increases, and you wanted to give them more. And that hurt the budget. And instead of giving the pay, increasing the increases, maybe, and you were not aggressive. Maybe you should have just been minorly, like, like minimally aggressive, and said we're not going to increase taxes on, increase their pay even more than the state already did. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to use that money for stuff that we need, like some of the crap that's on this bond. I'm not saying crap like in a bad way. I'm not selling it crap, but I mean, come on, fund that stuff. That's your responsibility, because that's part of maintenance and operation. You have to maintain the stuff. But no, it's because buildings don't vote, paint doesn't vote, parking lots don't vote, ACs don't vote. No, because they're inanimate objects that don't vote. Teachers and staff do, so we're going to give them a pay increase because it fits the needs of politicians in this position. And I'm not here to call out Denise. I have no doubt in my mind that all the other trustees that are in favor of this bond had no problems with what she said, because they all agree. They're all agreeing. They're nodding in agreement with her. The administrators that are pushing this bond, they're nodding in agreement. The superintendent, they're all nodding in agreement. So this is not an attack against Denise as an individual, because I care about her. She's a good person. We just disagree on this issue. And it's okay to disagree and still be friends. I mean, we need to be able to do that. We need to be able to find people and disagree on something and still be able to have a beer. I don't drink beer, but So before, during, and after this bond, I'm still going to be friends with Denise Garza. I'm still going to care for her, but we're just going to disagree on this. Just like I disagree with my friend Jessica Gonzalez. I know people out there like, oh, you're fighting with her. I'm like, no, we're still friends. We're always going to be friends. Because that's how I am. That's how she is. I mean, we were talking about the color of clothes they wear. She was wearing on Facebook the other day because it was funny. Because we can still do that, but disagree. Fundamentally disagree on this issue.
What about when she says, while BISD enrollment may not be growing, do they expect that with this bond enrollment that it's going to transform, re-energize, encourage parents to send their kids back to school?
It's not really them coming down. It's just going to magically cause people to have sex and have babies, because that's really the issue, right? Because that's what the superintendent talks about often. Like when back when I was in there, they had 16 kids, and my lady down there the street had 20 kids or whatever, and now they only have 2. Because that's what they're blaming it on. They're not blaming it on the product. They're not blaming it on the fact that air conditioners don't work or whatever. They're not blaming it on the teachers, the woke teachers. No. They're not blaming it on any of that. They're blaming it on the fact that people aren't having kids. And people are, they're not blaming on the fact that people are leaving out of BISD and going over into property that's in Los Fresnos CISD, like living out in the woods or living out in the boonies, that are part of, Port Isabel ISD, but they're still in the city of Brownsville. No. They're talking about people having. I don't think this bond is sexy enough to like say, oh shoot, people are going to start having kids and have sex. Yes, sex does happen, I guess, but it's not producing children. That's what I think anyway.
Yeah, I don't know how that's the case, man. Mexicans have kids like crazy. Doesn't matter whether it's hot, cold, rainy, sunny, clear skies, stormy nights. They're popping kids left and right. I guess globally, we are starting to see a decline. I think Asia is starting to see that, and they're starting to freak out. Elon Musk has been a big proponent. He has double-digit kids. So it's fascinating because again, I always talk about the whole image problem and having to deal with someone that deals with substance abuse issues, either alcohol or drugs. They never want to admit that they have a problem. They always blame other things. But it's important for BISD to recognize that we have an image problem. We need to fix that. The parents don't want to send their kids to our district because we've given them multiple reasons. And the school district continues to do so. So there is no faith, unfortunately, in BISD. Heck, we have private school mom, board president. She doesn't even believe in BISD. Why should you? what about at the very bottom, Roman? This has been the most transparent bond our district has ever seen. Has it really been the most transparent bond, Roman?
No, that's what I was saying. The bond, you have their chart, they're misleading. Their charts have extra information that has no bearing on the bond process or why a voter should vote one way or the other, but they're doing it anyway. You know, they I don't did they hire anybody to promote the bond, or they're doing all this in house? I don't know. I mean, look, they're talking about a PAC, a performing arts center. San Benito had all those issues in their political performing arts center, and I guess now it's coming. They're starting the process back up. That was according to the Brownsville Herald / Valley Morning Star / The Monitor. MyRGV.com had that story about how the performing arts center in San Benito is finally starting up. They had so many darn issues with that thing. I mean, if they had issues in the Rancho de San Benito, como dice, digo, your tío would always say, Rancho de San Benito, they had a performing arts center. We never had one. Are there any guarantees we're not going to have the same issues? I don't know. So that's what I mean. It's not necessarily the most transparent bond ever, because you do have the asterisks on some of that stuff. This is based on current estimates. So did the Citizens Committee that was proposing this bond, supposedly, according to Denise Chavez, I mean, so I don't know, I say Chavez, Denise Garza and all these other people on the board, did they come up with these numbers? Did they go out and get bids and estimates and think how much this was going to cost? Because that's part of the bond process, right? Whenever you're proposing a bond, you have to go out and get numbers. Did the Citizens Committee do all that stuff? Because I maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just completely wrong, and somebody out there can correct me. But I thought the idea of the Citizens Committee was just to go out and inspect schools, and find out which schools needed the help and prioritize them and come back with a list. I don't believe they went out and asked for 3, 4, 5 different, vendors and find out how much this would cost. I don't think they found out, how much the fees would cost or the interest would cost for the bond. I don't think they did any of that stuff. So to say that the citizens proposed this bond is just not true. I really don't think they did all these things, Frankie. I mean, am I mistaken? Am I misremembering what happened with this, Citizens Advisory Committee? I mean, did they go to? I want to say, I maybe is Jose Estrada still the financial advisor for BISD?
Yes.
And if did they go to did they go to their offices somewhere wherever they're located and say, hey, Mr. Jose Estrada, can you please tell us if we were to go out for a bond, how much it would cost so we can present this to the board? Because we're the Citizens Advisory Committee. I don't think they did all that stuff. So to say that the bond was proposed by the citizens is wrong. And so when you're saying that you're saying these things, that means you're not being transparent. It's not the most transparent process ever. It's not. It's the most unfair process ever. And it's unfair because we, Frankie and Roman and all the people that are against the bond, are having to debate you with both hands tied behind our back because you keep moving the goalpost. You keep giving us information and we say this is what's accurate, and then we have people bashing us that we're not being accurate, that we're giving this information. I mean, I've had union, you have this bond, the bond pact, the people that are supporting the bond pact, and you have people out there, I'm voting yes on the bond. Do you even live in BISD to vote yes on the bond? Are you telling us the truth? Like, I mean, you have a pack out there. I mean, they're not tied to the bond, but they're out there, take control of the BISD. They only spent $80 on a UPS store, and all of a sudden it blows up everything in October. And that really being transparent? I mean, really? Again, the PAC, that the Political Action Committee is separate of the bond. I get it, but you can't tell me the stuff is being shared by the board members. Their little signs are being shared by the board members. Are they coordinating with each other? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, it's not illegal to coordinate. It's not. This isn't a federal thing. They can coordinate if they want to. You don't think they talk to each other? You had You had the board president, the private school mom out there with the superintendent at some Democrat function, and one of the major members is one of the major of the political action committee. Again, there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm not insinuating that they did something nefarious and wrong and they should be held accountable. I'm just letting you know because I'm just informing you of it. And do with the information however you want, however you feel. But come on. So no, it's not the most transparent process ever. It's like saying this is the most important election in my lifetime. They say that every 4 years, every 2 years. They say that most election in our lifetime. The most recent election of our lifetime. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting stuff. I hope that we do, as a community, come out to vote. It's hard, man. It's hard. One of the biggest things that is needed is to energize, to make sure that, and I think, I hope that we've been doing that with, with the podcast, of keeping people informed, because if this bond passes, there is going to be a reality that many people who are struggling, us that were struggling paycheck to paycheck, in 5 years, will you have a roof over your head? Would you be able to manage with with the increase, depending on the size of your property, depending on how many properties you have? Are you going to be like BISD trustee Minerva Peña, in debt thousands of dollars? Are you
Yeah.
ever going to be able to pay off that note? And that's something, Roman, that we need to remind the community.
Yeah, you have to remind the community that people have a mortgage, and part of your mortgage is your tax bill. It's already embedded in it, and you're probably paying interest on that stuff. So not only are you paying for the tax rate, you're also paying interest on that to your lender, right? I mean, you're more knowledgeable about this stuff than I am, Frankie, on this. This is my cup of tea. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. And the thing with me is, I'll tell you if I think I might be wrong. I'm going to tell you that because I don't know every single thing. I don't. But, common sense stuff, things that I might put pieces together, I'm going to try to do that. But I think I'm right. You pay a little bit of interest on that mortgage, on that, amount for your taxes. This is part of your mortgage bill. And it's going to go up. No, and it's not going to be little. It's going to go up from 4 cents this year to 9 cents next year. It's going to double, more than double. It's going to increase by 125%. That's insane. From 1 year to the next. Can you live like that? I mean, Minerva Peña allegedly can't afford to pay $73,000 in her tax bill over the last 3 years. You think she's going to be able to afford doubling her tax rate, the tax rate? Probably not. She may have to lose those properties, and she's probably going to have to, she should downsize. If she can't maintain that, she's going to have to downsize. You have to make those tough decisions. My family and I are making these kinds of decisions. We're not living we're not the best. I mean, I don't really want to talk personal stuff, but, I'll say this. My mother passed away earlier this year, and it was very expensive to bury my mother. But, we were not necessarily prepared. Did we go out and do a GoFundMe thing? No, we didn't. But we saved. I mean, we made tough decisions, and we did what we need to do to bury my mom. Did we have to go into debt? Yes, we went into debt a little bit, but we're going to pay it off, relatively quickly, thankfully. But, what about those people that are paying living paycheck to paycheck, and this tax rate goes up? This tax thing goes up for them, and something happens, they develop cancer. I mean, if Denise and the board are going to, play the heartstrings of how we're going to have to cut taxes, pay increases, and cut spending, and all the kids are not going to have their programs. Oh my God, they're not going to have those programs. I'm going to start doing the heartstrings. Let me do it. What if next year, 2 years from now, one of your parents passes away, and you're going to have to make a decision whether, because you can't pay your taxes, you don't have the money to be saving because you're living paycheck to paycheck, whether or not to bury the person, buy the plot, or cremate them. Are you gonna? What if somebody in your family develops cancer, and they really, really want to go to MD Anderson, or they want to go to some hospital in San Antonio, but no, we can't go do those things because we have high price BIST tax. So we have to use one of these doctors here in the valley, and they're shitty ass doctors, and they make mistakes all the time because we have some of the worst doctors in the nation here in the valley. I'm not saying all of them are bad. Not saying that before somebody gets mad, but wouldn't you rather take an MD Anderson? But you're not going to be able to do that because you have your tax bill. Your rent went up because of what these greedy, money grabbing people, politicians wanted. What about, you have your heart medication, right? Your heart medication and your blood pressure medication that you have. You're going to have to make a decision whether you want to do that because not only did your BISD taxes go up, but the city of Brownsville decided to do a stupid little recycling tax fee of $5 every single month. Because that blood pressure medication isn't free. You do have a copay, whatever the copay might be, or co-insurance. I mean, that's something that, Frankie might know more about. Maybe if you need insurance, maybe go to Frankie, visit Frankie. Maybe he can give you that good insurance. Maybe he knows that zero copay, zero co-insurance, zero this, zero that, Carlos Salinas keeps talking about. There are decisions that individuals are having to make because of the decisions of these politicians, these money-grabbing politicians who wanted to have a 25 or 30% increase in the bond that they were proposing months ago. You understand that? People are suffering. People are losing their houses. People are losing their jobs. Right now, there are people in the federal government that are working and not getting paid. They may not even have the money to be able to pay the taxes this month, and they're going to lose down on 3% because they haven't gotten paid all month. They're not able to pay for their car insurance, their car payment, or their car insurance, their lease payment. They might not have the money. They live paycheck to paycheck. They weren't expecting this. They were not expecting this shutdown to happen and last as long as the Democrats have made it last. But these politicians and BIC don't give a flying rat's ass about you. The superintendent doesn't care. Carlos, Eddie Trevino, the county judge, didn't even care either. He wanted a stupid arena, and thankfully it failed. So people are suffering. People are hurting. But these politicians, all they give a shit about are the freaking teacher unions and the teachers that do this, pat them on the back, and do that crap. And call them, I'm Mr. Ortiz. I'm Mr. Ortiz. How you doing, Mr. Ortiz? Or hi, Miss Gonzalez. Hi, Miss Gonzalez. Or hi, Miss Garza. And hi, President Miss Daniela Lopez Valdez. When they go up and they'll give a little speech. Hi, good evening, Madam President Lopez Valdez. Oh, Dr. Chavez. Let's kneel about, pray to those people. That's what they give a shit about. They don't care about you. They don't care about this AI family that's in front of this house. That their house is going. They don't care. They don't care. They don't care about the suffering that you're happening. They only care about the patting on the back, the little free tickets they get to the sporting events. They get to go in. They get to be on the field. They enjoy that stuff. They get to be in the back room and have the little hangout, be in the air conditioning of the little room, and have the little powwow, and then they go out and, get in the heat or whatever. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. They have to have me. I'm not calling them out. But they live differently than you and we do. They do, in general. I think some board members are better than others. I really do. They don't, but in general, they don't care about you. They care about the teachers and the supposed staffers that need that. They're going to lose their jobs, Roman. Don't you care about them losing their jobs? I care more about keeping my house. I'm done.
Interesting take. Again, low voter turnout. Is this going to be the norm for early voting? We hope not. We hope that people once they know that early voting is available, is an option, they will make necessary plans to go Saturday. If you are available, make sure you go. You can vote throughout the the county. That way you can cast your ballot. It's important for us to do our civic duty. There is a need for us to keep on reminding people. Again, let's use a buddy system. Text, call 10 people on your phone log that you can count on that will go vote, and check in with them throughout the duration from here till election day. Have you gone to vote? Do you need a ride? Is there any information that you would is there anything you would like more information on? There's also homestead exemptions that I guess we'll talk about tomorrow or Thursday. Very important issues. You have the possibility of increasing the homestead exemptions from 140 to 200, and other important issues that are on the ballot. The main one for us that we've been promoting is the BISD bond, but there's other very important issues on the ballot. That's why, to me, it's mind-boggling that we don't have our chairman and chairwoman for the Democratic and Republican parties of the county. They've been radio silent. Nothing on their social medias in regards to reminding the people that early voting is upon us. No information regarding educating the voters in regards to the amendments and the BISD propositions. Very important stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Very important stuff. Roman, any last words?
Well, there's a few questions that people were mentioning while I was going on my rant. Can we talk about them so that we can be able to answer them real quick?
Sure.
Can school vouchers be used towards? Yes, they can. There is a question about opting out from BIC taxes. No, you cannot opt out unless you don't live in the district. Sorry. There was another comment. Somebody's saying sorry for your loss. Thank you. I appreciate it, Leandro. There was another question about one of the propositions having to do with the Alzheimer's thing at some point. I failed to answer that or talk about that. The that particular thing, research, is to set up a fund or a trust fund, essentially, to be able to fund a research facility having to do with Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, and also to be able to have doctors, I guess, get grants and get all that stuff. I think Alzheimer's research and Parkinson's research is critically important. It's hugely important. I just don't believe that it is a function of the state. And so I'm not voting in favor of this particular issue, because I don't think it's a function. It should be the function of the Texas government to have a fund to develop specifically for this in the billions of dollars. I mean, private people can do it. Maybe the federal government wants to do it, but I'm not sure I want the state of Texas doing that. I think the state of Texas needs to focus more on making sure we have water to drink and better roads and better infrastructure. That is the function of government. The function of government is not to develop, Alzheimer's, dementia, and Parkinson's. And all three of those things are very, very dearly important to me. I think, I have relatives that have Alzheimer's and dementia. There was at one point in time, people, my doctors believed I had Parkinson's disease when I was a teenager because of my tremor. And so trust me, when that happened, when Michael J. Fox had Parkinson's, and it freaked me out, the idea that I might have Parkinson's disease and we're probably going to die from it. But thankfully I don't have Parkinson's. I didn't. I just have muscular dystrophy, which is a different thing. Or form of muscular dystrophy, I should be more specific. Anyway, so I'm voting against it. So we could disagree, Blast. Like, we can disagree on that. You want to vote in favor, it's okay. As I think I said yesterday, I think every single constitutional amendment 1 through 17 is going to pass. And for clarification, when you go vote, if you want to look at your sample ballot, you can go look at your sample ballot at the Cameron County Elections Department. The ballot in BISD is going to be the first 17 numbered, Proposition 1, 2, 3, Proposition 4, all the way down to 17. Those are the constitutional amendments. And then it's going to be followed by Proposition A and Proposition B, and that is for BISD. Those are the only things that will be on your ballot. There will only be 18 and 19 items on your ballot in BISD. It'll be the 17 constitutional amendments, 1 through 17, and then Prop A and B. That's it. So there will be nobody. No, you're not voting for anybody. You're just voting for issues, and it's going to be 19. If you don't want to vote on any of the constitutional amendments, that's up to you. And you only want to vote on BISD, you can tell that's your right as an American. It's your right as a Texan to do whatever that you want to. I just encourage you to vote against Proposition A and against Proposition B.
Um, the vouchers, you already answered that. Will St. Joe expand their campus to accommodate the demand?
Um, no, I don't think so because I mean I don't want to speak for St. Joe. Maybe Danielle Lopez Valdez can answer that question since she's a St. Joe graduate and alum, and I'm pretty sure right now her kids. Again, I don't want to be attacked and say, why are you talking about her kids? I'm not talking about her kids. I'm talking about the parents' decision to do what they want to with their children. It's their right. I'm not shaming her or her husband for putting their kids in private. I don't have a problem with it. Just be honest about it. Don't tell me you believe in BISD. Anyway, maybe we can ask her or some of the many St. Joe alum that are in. Maybe we can ask Tino Villarreal. He's the coach there. But no, I don't think it's going to necessarily expand. And I don't really think there's going to be that huge demand. Remember in when the school choice stuff was happening in the legislature, you had all these scary things from teacher unions saying, oh, they're going to close schools, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. And then, we're going to lose so many students. That's what, the private school mom would say. And so the superintendent and other people on the board that agree with them. But then you had the superintendent at the State of the District address say, we're going to lose a few students, maybe a few. A few to me is like 3 or 4. So it's not really that many. And so I don't think it's going to be a huge demand of people coming into St. Joe. Maybe a few, maybe several, maybe 10 or 20. And I think we've done the numbers, Frankie. I think we looked at there's a $1 billion that are going to be used, right, for school voucher. I mean, school choice educational savings account. That's only going to potentially benefit at most 100,000 students of the millions and millions and millions of public school students out there. And also, if you're a private school student right now, you can apply for that as well. So no, I don't think it's going to. Jesus is asking. I'm assuming you go by Jesus, not Jesus. Schools might close cause no more kids in Brownsville. The BNSD dream is dead. Jesus, we live in a really bad reality right now. We're gonna close regardless. We're gonna have schools close whether or not this bond passes. Mingo saying St. Joe will only accept about 10 kids. No, I'm not saying that they're only going to accept 10 kids. I'm saying that, it might only be 10 kids. In part because the way I understand it, some of the presentations that are being given to private schools right now by the comptroller's office that is going to be managing or at least informing people about the rules for school choice is saying that there's 1,000 private schools right now that are eligible for in the state of Texas, and they are only going to give each of the schools a certain amount of scholarships or grants, and they want to be equal. And I think the number is about 80. And so that is what they want to do. So every school, whether it's an elementary or whatever, I think is 80. It might even be fewer than that. It might only be 8. I could be mistaken, but it's not a very high number. It's not in the hundreds, definitely. So, and again, those scholarships are available to people who are already in that school. They can apply for it, or it can be for people outside that want to go to that school. And a private school is not required to accept it if they want to. Their decision if they want to or not. So yeah, so it might not be a lot of new students coming in. And again, your superintendent said we might lose only a few students, a few, 2, 3, 4 in the entirety of the school district, where it has 35,000 students, and there's only like 2, 3, 4 students might lose. They made such a big deal for 2 or 3 students, 4 students. They gaslighted you guys. That's more evidence of the gaslighting that these teacher unions and board trustees and superintendents, administrators do. They were scaring everybody. Schools are going to close. We're going to lose so many students. And then they come to reality, it's only a few. And you same thing here with the bond. Bond, I just figured this out. Sorry. Oh, new rant, new rant. Look, Frankie, am I wrong? They were scaring everybody about the school choice thing, and now they come to the realization it's only few. The bond. Oh, we're gonna, yeah. If you don't do this, we're gonna lose this. We're gonna lose that. We're gonna lose this. We're gonna lose that, and pulling on your heartstrings. And all the while, they're not even telling you the truth that they're gonna close schools anyway. They're not openly telling you they're gonna close these schools anyway. I think the superintendent did. I think it shocked. I correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't it shock me, Nedra Peña, when she called you out, Frankie? Am I misremembering something where she was like, I thought he's an idiot, don't listen to him, and then she goes to the presentation and realized, oh, he was right. What, Dr. Chavez? What are you saying? We're gonna close schools? I didn't know that. Maybe she was more concerned about her taxes or delinquent taxes or something. That's why she didn't realize that. Who knows? She had other things on her mind. Who knows? All right, I'm done. Sorry.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, you have today up until Halloween, next Friday, to go cast your ballot early. Election day will be the first Tuesday in November. If you are one of the few people that like to wait on election day, you like the thrill, by all means, make sure you go out and vote. But again, it's important. You need to go out and vote. Make sure you get your family and friends to do so as well. If you haven't already, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel titled Frankie Legal TV. Our goal is to get to 1,000. Little by little, we're climbing, inching closer to our goal. My name is Frankie. This is Roman. Peace.